It dawned on me yesterday. So I am on WHIO, which is the big talk station in Miami Valley and has a huge listenership in Springfield and in Yellow Springs, which I need to get to since I can go see Dave Chappelle, and Dayton and the like in the Miami Valley. And I realized I had a big listenership when I referred to Udders and Putters, which is a putt-putt place and a driving range near Yellow Springs, Ohio. And every listener, I think, in the area emailed and said, actually, it's Young's Dairy. It's at Young's Dairy. Udders and Putters isn't the name of the business. It's Young's Dairy. Now I got to go to Young's Dairy. There's a little municipal quarter, Springfield Beckley Municipal Airport. I bet a little private jet could fly me into, not that I can afford one, just to go to Young's Dairy and hit putt-putt at Udders and Putters. I love that name, Udders and Putters. You can get ice cream and hit golf balls. They got batting cages, and did I mention ice cream? Then we started getting the calls from the listeners who are furious about the story of the Haitian who ate the cat. Do you know why they're furious about the story of the Haitian immigrant who ate the cat in Springfield, Ohio? They're furious because it's not true. And the result has been a very serious problem being overlooked in Springfield, Ohio with Haitian immigrants. And I have to correct myself because I knew I shouldn't have trusted the Daily Mail, and I did. There was the photographic evidence of the Haitian walking down the street with the goose, the dead goose. It was a Canadian goose, so we don't care about the goose because they're horrible animals. By the way, I have found the one topic that unites my audience more than their hatred of electric vehicles: Canadian geese. Y'all hate them, just like me. But it turns out that this picture was not in Springfield, Ohio. I will say, however, we had callers who called yesterday. They didn't get on the air. They were just calling to pass on to me that, yes, it is true. It is true that some of the Haitian migrants have been known to capture the ducks and the geese in the local park in Springfield, in, Snyder Park along the river there. But they're all mad about the story. All the callers from Springfield, Ohio are mad about the story of the Haitian who killed the cat because it is not true. And it makes them, they feel like, sound like liars. And here's the problem. A bunch of right-of-center social media agitators began to spread the story of the Haitians eating people's pets in Springfield, Ohio. And what it has allowed the media to do is to say, that's not true. This is racism, and simply move on from the actual story. The actual story is that Springfield, Ohio is a city overwhelmed with immigrants. It is not a wealthy city. It has had to drive up its education costs. Its social services are taxed. It's being overwhelmed. It is true that last August, a driver who is a Haitian immigrant who lacked a driver's license in Ohio rammed into a school bus on the first day of school, killing an 11-year-old boy and injuring 23 others. Springfield, Ohio has 58,000 people, and between 15 and 20,000 Haitians moved in since the pandemic. They're legal aliens. They're not illegal aliens. They have work permits. Many of them are getting jobs in factories, and they're making less money than what the locals wanted. Here's the problem, however. The city is overwhelmed. Not only is it overwhelmed, but now there's a housing crisis. It's moved so fast. The New York Times, and yeah, I realize it's the New York Times, but let me just read this to you. The population dwindled to less than 60,000 by 2014 from more than 80,000 in 1960. Around that time, Springfield crafted a strategic plan to attract business. In 2017, I don't know how you pronounce it, Topre, Topre, a major Japanese auto parts manufacturer, picked Springfield for a new plant in a decaying part of town that's been the site of International Harvester, which was once the biggest employer. In 2020, Springfield lured food service firms, logistics companies, and a microchip maker, among others, creating 8,000 new jobs and optimism. But pretty soon there weren't enough workers. Many young working-age people had descended into addiction. Others shunned entry-level, rote work altogether. Haitians who heard that the Springfield area boasted well-paying, blue-collar jobs and a low cost of living poured in, and employers were eager to hire them. The Haitians had Social Security numbers and work permits thanks to a federal program that offered them temporary protection in the United States. Some had been living for years in Florida, where there's a thriving Haitian community. The businesses needed machine operators, forklift drivers, and quality inspectors. The Haitians filled those positions. They're 10% of the workforce at McGregor Metal, a family-owned business that makes parts for cars, trucks, and tractors. But then there are the problems of a mass influx. Clinics are overwhelmed. Schools are overwhelmed. 6 Haitian Creole speakers were hired and trained to assist newcomers at the local community health center, but their budget went from $43,000 in 2020 to $436,000 a year in costs. It's not sustainable at the community center. The Springfield City School District's registration department was so crammed with immigrant families waiting to enroll that some of them had to queue into the hospital. Nearly 350 new students registered for elementary and middle school the first week of classes. The school districts had to hire about 24 teachers who were certified to teach English as a second language. These are legal immigrants who have overwhelmed the city. Landlords have taken properties out of the federal housing voucher program for low-income families. 200 properties are removed. There's a housing shortage. The affordability problem has been aggravated by the landlords pivoting to Haitians who are willing to pay higher rent. The Haitians were making more money than the impoverished people. And so you've got poor people in Springfield who are American citizens who are taken out of houses, and the Haitians were put in because the Haitians took the good jobs that the locals didn't want. It's a far more complicated story. Springfield is not a sanctuary city. These are legal immigrants into the United States who moved there from Florida and New York and elsewhere to get jobs. And this is a key point that residents of Springfield have made to me in emails to this show. It should not be understated that in many cases, the Haitians are taking jobs that locals did not want. Many of them suffering drug addiction and the other problems that J.D. Vance has alluded to in Hillbilly Elegy and the like. The Haitians came in and they took jobs. One of the problems with the housing crisis now in Springfield is that landlords were renting to poor people, and the Haitians are making enough money that they've taken their rental houses out of a federal poverty program and are now renting to the Haitians who are willing to pay more money than the locals. But the school system's overwhelmed. This has been a failure of integration into a community as these people came in. It's a vastly more complex situation. Yes, it does appear there have been local Haitians to capture the ducks in the river. My frustration with this, however, is very straightforward. This is a complex issue exacerbated by the Biden-Harris administration's problems that allowed a group of Haitians to come into this country and be given temporary residency programs and amnesty because of the situation in Haiti. And 20,000 of them moved into one city, overwhelming social services, many of them, however, taking good jobs that some in the local community didn't want to do. And what did right-wing social media influencers do? They lied about someone eating a cat and showed a picture that made it into the newspaper of a man carrying a goose down the street that wasn't there. And so what did the media do? Instead of examining the situation, saying, yeah, this is actually a problem, they said, oh, liars, racists and liars, the story's not true. Meanwhile, it is true. It just happens to be a complex story. We are 56 days away from the election, and you've got right-wing social media influencers relitigating World War II and whether Hitler was actually the good guy, and lying about Haitians eating cats in Springfield, Ohio, when all the focus should be on Kamala Harris, and instead it's a bunch of people who I am more and more convinced some of these pro-Trump social media influencers are scared he might actually win. They would rather he lose so they can continue to nurse grievances with the problems that the Democrats have made. We should not be running our 2020 campaign based on lies. And yet too many people are running an entire campaign based on lies. You got the anti-Semites on the right questioning the Jews. You got the Nazi apologizers out there attacking Winston Churchill, and now you got the right-wing social media influencers attacking the Haitians. I'm sorry, but when you combine the anti-Semites of the right, the Nazis of the right, and the people lying about the Haitians, the low-information voters are going to conclude that, yes, they are a bunch of racists on the right. We should all be focusing on Kamala Harris's economic policy, and to the extent that we focus on Springfield, Ohio in this situation, the situation has everything to do not with Haitians eating cats or decapitating geese, but with 20,000 people moving in fairly well at once, overwhelming a local government, overwhelming a local school system, overwhelming healthcare services, and it's because of the policies of the Biden administration. You do not have to lie about house pets being eaten by Haitians to see that there's a problem here exacerbated by the current administration's government policies. We actually don't have to lie to win the argument. Just tell them the truth. The truth is bad enough. Springfield, Ohio is overwhelmed. And it's overwhelmed because the Biden-Harris administration screwed up our borders and allowed a massive influx of people into this country. And yes, some of them have gotten good and productive jobs. But also, in doing so, they've taken those good and productive jobs from many current citizens looking for work and then displaced those people from their houses. It's a complex problem, but the situation's very easy. Secure the border and undo the failures of the Biden administration. We don't have to lie to get that done.